Alright, have you ever wondered why it took me so long to update Black Myth Wukong series? Well, let me show you a picture and you'll understand. So this is me after challenging the White Clan Noble 5 times. This game is a bit too difficult for me. Friends who watched my last video know that Black Myth Wukong tells the story after Journey to the West. So many of the characters in the game appeared in Journey to the West. But I honestly don't remember these bosses in Chapter 1 who tortured me to death, being in the original story. So I looked it up in the original book and I was shocked. It turns out that these bosses really do appear in Journey to the West. But except for the Black Bear Guai, the others were too weak compared to Sun Wukong. That's why I had no impression of them. In the game, each of the Black Bear Guai's underlings is pretty strong, so it makes sense that they formed a Guanyin Monastery gang in the game. But in the original story, why would the powerful Black Bear Guai be friends with such weak monsters and even humans? Today we're going to look at the bosses from Chapter 1 of Black Myth Wukong and their stories in Journey to the West. But before we dive into the story, let me add one more thing. I'll only talk about characters that appear in both the game and Journey to the West. If a character is original to the game and doesn't appear in the book, I'll skip them. Alright, let's begin! First, in Journey to the West, the elder Jinchi, Guangzhi, and Guangmou are monks from Guanyin Monastery. They are all humans, so their combat abilities are very weak, far from being a match for Sun Wukong. However, their hearts are 100 times more wicked than the strongest demons. Here's what happened. One day, Tang Sanzang and Sun Wukong passed by Guanyin Monastery and stayed there for the night. During their conversation, the elder Jinchi learned that Tang Sanzang had a very precious kasaya, monk robe, and he borrowed it to admire at night. Jinchi appeared to love the robe very much, so his disciple Guangzhi suggested that they kill Tang Sanzang and Sun Wukong in their sleep and steal the robe. Guangmou was even more vicious. He knew Sun Wukong would be hard to deal with, so he suggested setting fire to their room while they slept. That way they could burn them to death, making it look like an accident and avoiding a direct confrontation with Sun Wukong, lowering their risk. While they were stacking firewood outside the room, Sun Wukong overheard them. He initially wanted to go out and kill them all, but he was afraid Tang Sanzang would blame him for killing so many people. So he flew up to the heavens and borrowed a magic tool called the Fireproof Cover from the Western King of Whitesight, the one with the snake around his arm in the game's opening scene. Sun Wukong used it to protect Tang Sanzang's room. When Jinchi and his disciples set the fire, it only burned the other buildings in the monastery, while Tang Sanzang's room remained untouched. The firelight from the burning monastery woke up a Black Bear Guai in a nearby cave. The Black Bear Guai saw the fire and decided to come down and help put it out. At this point, you might wonder why a demon would be so kind. It turns out that the Black Bear Guai was friends with Elder Jinchi. They often preached together and had similar interests. The book mentions that when Jinchi talked to Tang Sanzang, he claimed to be 270 years old. How could a regular human live to be 270 years old? It was actually the Black Bear Guai who taught him some cultivation methods, which extended his lifespan. The Black Bear Guai came to Guanyin Monastery and saw the precious kasaya. Forgetting about the fire, he simply stole the kasaya. After the fire was out, Elder Jinchi found that not only was his monastery mostly burnt down, but his plot had also been exposed by Sun Wukong, and the precious kasaya was gone. In anger, he ran into a wall and killed himself. Sun Wukong then forced the monks who started the fire to tell him where the Kasaya was. The monks said that not far from Guanyin Monastery there was Black Wind Mountain, where a black bear Guai lived, and it was likely he stole the Kasaya. So Sun Wukong went to find the black bear Guai. When he arrived at Black Wind Mountain, Sun Wukong overheard 3 demons talking about cultivation. These 3 demons had taken human forms. One was a big man with a black face, one was a Taoist, and the other was a white-clad noble. The black-faced man said that he had obtained a treasure during the night, a Kasaya, and planned to invite the other 2 to his birthday party and admire the treasure. When Sun Wukong heard this, he knew that the black-faced demons had stolen the Kasaya. Angrily, he rushed out and killed the white-clad noble with one strike of his cudgel. After his death, the white-clad noble returned to his true form, which was a white snake demon. I can't help but complain here. In the novel, the white-clad noble was really weak and died rather unjustly. Compared to the evil humans like Elder Jinchi, Guangzhi, and Guangmou, the white-clad noble didn't do anything bad, and he wasn't even the one who stole the Kasaya. Just because he was a demon, he was killed with a single blow, which is really pitiful. Seeing the white-clad noble dead, the black bear Guai started fighting with Sun Wukong. The black bear Guai was quite strong. Although he couldn't defeat Sun Wukong couldn't beat him either. In the end, the black bear Guai retreated into his cave, and Sun Wukong had no choice but to leave. The next day, Sun Wukong transformed into the appearance of Elder Jinchi and sneaked into Black Wind Cave under the pretense of delivering birthday wishes. However, the black bear Guai saw through his disguise, and the 2 fought again. This time, they still couldn't determine a winner. After 2 draws, it was clear that the black bear Guai was very powerful. With no other choice, Sun Wukong went to the South Sea to ask Guanyin Bodhisattva for help. When Guanyin and Sun Wukong arrived near Black Wind Mountain, they saw the Taoist who had previously been discussing cultivation with the black bear Guai and the white-clad noble. The Taoist was holding a glass tray with 2 elixirs on it. Walking towards them from afar, without a word, Sun Wukong rushed up and struck him dead with his cudgel. At that moment, Guanyin Bodhisattva asked the same question I had earlier. He didn't steal the Kasaya, so why did you kill him? Sun Wukong explained that this was also a demon and part of the black bear Guai's group. Hearing this, the Bodhisattva let it go. After the Taoist was killed, he returned to his true form, which was a grey wolf. The glass tray in the Taoist's hands had the words "made by Lin Xuzi" engraved on it. It turns out this Taoist was the grey wolf demon Lin Xuzi. These 2 elixirs were likely birthday gift for the black bear Guai. Here, I must say that both the white-clad noble and the Lin Xuzi were really pitiful. They never harmed anyone. They just spent their time studying elixirs and cultivation. But because their friends stole a Kasaya, Sun Wukong killed them both, which is really unjust. Sun Wukong then came up with an idea for Guanyin Bodhisattva. He suggested that Guanyin transform into the form of Lin Xuzi, and that Sun Wukong turn into one of the elixirs. This way, they could sneak into Black Wind Cave. Once the black bear Guai swallowed the elixir, which was actually Sun Wukong could cause trouble inside the demon's belly and force him to surrender. Guanyin agreed to this plan. She transformed into Lin Xuzi and tricked the black bear Guai into swallowing the elixir that was actually Sun Wukong. In the end, they subdued the black bear Guai. He returned the Kasaya and followed Guanyin to become a mountain guardian deity. That's the story of Elder Jinchi, Guangzhi, Guangmou, the white-clad noble, Lin Xuzi, and the black bear Guai in Journey to the West. Black Myth Wukong gives exciting new stories for these characters in the game, but I won't spoil that here. Alright, that's all for this video. If you have any suggestions or comments, please leave them down below. See you next time!